welcome back to the We Rock podcast. This is episode 42. Where are we at? Austin, are you keeping track of this?
11.
11.
On
All right. It's been a couple. The problem has been a couple weeks. We've been a little bit busy. So, and I don't know. We actually look like we're going to get some rain today. So this is going to throw me off completely.
Mm-hmm.
But we actually have we've got a special guest.
Very special.
We got to roll his intro music. He's got the one guest who's ever had intro music. Roll his intro music. Is it there? You can't introduce the president without having Hail to the Chief played. However, he's from the South, so it's got to be on a banjo.
Of course. All the way from Burleson, Texas.
Yeah, all the way from Burleson, Texas, the big booming metropolis that is just outside of Fort Worth. Welcome, Matt Worthington, AICA CM. We've got you on and going to talk about some MBNA stuff, like we've kind of talked about on the show for a few weeks now. Talking about what the future of MBNA looks like, what all's going on as far as directions headed, and then other kind of worthless nonsense conversations about anything else we decide we want to talk about, I guess.
I'm sure we will not go down that road.
Well, I mean, again, with have y'all seen the weather? We're like at 50% down here. Of course, I know y'all are on the north end of the state, and we're on the south end or the central end of the state. So, weather looks good for us. We're 50% chance today, and then 70% even tomorrow.
It's finally nice that it's not 100 degrees.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So,
75 and cloudy.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but no. So, Matt, you've now taken over at MBNA, running things, which is why you're. I have on good authority that you're now in most phones as El Presidente. So,
El Presidente.
Which we just for those of you who don't know, we kind of hem haw around before we hit record on this stuff, and we talked to him about we had to clarify this with Perry Giles, because that we realized that in Texas that really does kind of make him Santa Ana, which was not good if you know your history. That means we'll have to find somebody who's broken, leaning up against a tree, who's been shot in the hip, and you'll have to surrender everything to them. So who's behind you? Who actually comes up behind you as the hierarchy runs?
Well, right now, the president-elect, so when I moved up to president, I had to nominate a president-elect. The position has to be filled according to our bylaws. So Allison Raymer, which is past president from Arkansas, she is now president-elect. So that doesn't mean that she's going to move up to president, which she doesn't want to, and she's not going to. So to answer your question, in February in San Diego, one of the VPs will move up.
Okay. So Allison Raymer is not Sam Houston, is what you're telling me.
She is not. She's not.
I mean, that's really what I'm getting at here is I want to know what the hierarchy is there. But no, so look, we've said this a couple times. We're obviously going to talk about some MBNA stuff. But we've already established we're not going to talk about the past. We want to all talk about moving forward.
Definitely so.
What does things look like and all that kind of stuff, how things are going. But first, I know who you are. I think Austin knows who you are.
We met.
A handful of people we met. A handful of people in MBNA might know who you are, but why don't you introduce yourself for the people that are not MBNA members who listen and finally find us because they've been scrolling through podcasts and they have no idea what they came across. They're thinking they're listening to some rehatch of some like rock and roll podcast or something.
We can pepper that in a little every now and then just for viewership or listenership.
Well, I'm Matt Worthington. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, TCU Horned Frog. Started Monument Company in 2000, and I've been here ever since. I've been involved with MBNA for about 10 years, give or take. And here I am.
Well,
There you are.
and so you and I go a ways back because you were buying from Swan whenever I was working there.
When was that?
And gosh, I started working there in 2003. So something like that, yeah. And so I've known you since then. There was a gentleman that was working there that you always worked with named Dean at the time.
Dean
and
Fonville.
Yep. So you were one of his customers, but I would talk to you every once in a while. And I always remember because you're only a year or two older than I am, I believe, and which makes you the old goat here on this podcast at the moment. But I remember always being young as we were starting up and looking at your business and watching how y'all would do things and just kind of going, man, that's the direction we want to go. I don't do that now because you own 15,000 different things, and I
I like to stay busy.
Yeah, well, I don't know how you've kept some of your hair. It's just I've got this spot back here.
Going.
Yeah.
Try to hide that.
So, well, and it's the grays that are showing up in the beard now are problematic. So, but no. So we've known each other for a long time, and you do a great job of doing what you do out there. You're now within the last 2 years, you were AICA. Is that correct?
Yep. I think it's been 1 year.
Was it San Antonio?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. Yep. So, yeah, and you're bailing on us this week, right? I mean,
yeah, can't make it to Italy. I've got a senior in high school and a sophomore in high school, and my sophomore plays football, and it's my senior's last year for all of his events, and so yeah, I can't make it.
So other than that, you have nothing going on.
You do know that there's a FaceTime now, right?
I don't want to miss my kids' stuff.
I get it. It's actually really rough because Emily and I are both going, and I say rough, yeah, like we're roughing it, but it is going to be hard we're missing one of Kylie's volleyball games with the church, her first one, but we are fortunate enough that the trip fell that so James is in junior high, and we're not missing his football game because they're actually on a bye week next week. So, however, we fly in on Monday, and his game is Monday evening. So we are going to be flat exhausted, running from Bush Intercontinental straight up here so that we can catch his game. And it's going to be rough, but I think it'll all be worth it in the end. So,
oh yeah,
but
it will. I missed my fair share of kids stuff, unfortunately, for work and other things. But I, just looking at the schedule, I've got football games. I'm missing my 11-year-old's football game. I would be missing my 11-year-old's football game, and just not stuff that I'm willing to miss right now.
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
Miss the trip.
Well, I'll think of you while I'm eating fresh pizza over there in front of the Pantheon, and send you. I'm sure Jason and I can send you pictures of us drinking wine and all that kind of fun stuff.
Nice.
So just to troll just a little bit.
Please do.
So let's talk about just some of the upfront things that have some changes or whatever that are coming. MBNA's had some big changes that have happened, but I want to talk about what is immediate and then what is moving forward. So what has happened within the board as far as changing in seats. You're now obviously president, so there's been some shifting around those kind of things. And then what's to come?
Well, like I said a little bit ago, so I moved up. Allison Raymer came into president-elect, which her main role is going to be helping with, which we'll go into this in just a minute, but transition between management companies. So she's helping. There's a lot of contracts and information that needs to be moved over, and just a lot of information.
Well, and I will say that I've kind of looked to her for a while. She's brilliant when it comes to accounting. She was a businesswoman before she got into the monument business and decided that she didn't like making money. because we don't make money in this industry.
Is she the one that used to give a presentation on how to price your, price your monuments?
Yeah. And she's
yeah. And then you find out how bad you are doing.
she did that. We were in Baton Rouge one year, if you remember. She gave that presentation, and I was intent looking at it. I'm going, oh man, this is great. And then I realized the first time I was in front of a customer and I had to price something that way, I go, no, just multiply it. Like I'm not smart enough to figure out how much my overhead percentage is based upon a quarter. No.
Oh, she can spit out all those things. No, she is. She's brilliant. Like I said, she's brilliant. She's been extremely helpful to me and the rest of the board and to this transition. So we're lucky to have her. I'm glad she came back, and I'm glad she's on board. So she'll stay in that position until February when in San Diego, and one of the VPs will move up into that position, and then I'll start my normal term until February, March of 25.
Okay.
So you're going to be like the FDR of the monument industry, right? I mean, he got 12 years term, but this is a little different. You're going to get a term and a half.
Yeah, I about 18 months. I don't know, and I don't know the statistic. I don't know if that's been done before or who did it or what. But yeah, I'll be 18 months as president of MBNA.
Yeah, you do realize that the next step from it's not for you. It would not be past president. It's there's a mental hospital in Rusk.
There's a few other people I'll meet there.
So, well, that's good. I mean, and I know a lot of those board guys. A lot of those guys are really good. I've been very fortunate to carve and with Nathan Lang and know him through AICA as well as Jonathan Modlick. I've said before that, and I think he's still currently past president or sitting in. Correct.
He'll stay so until 25.
Good, and I mean, Jonathan's straightforward. He's an honest guy. I don't know that.
Great guy.
I don't know that you don't get the truth from Jonathan. I think but he's the Ohio version of Perry Giles, where it's everything's just the same tone. So, but he's great. He's going to tell you exactly what he means.
Very level-headed and he's a great guy.
My only gruff with Jonathan is one Hard Rocks. He carved this little fat, little squatting guy, and he's got it at his house somewhere, and I wanted it because it was really this cool little fat dude. But no, he's such a phenomenal carver and just a really good dude. So, and then of course I know a few of the others that are over there, but y'all got a good setup, I think, to move forward from what I'll tell you this in the background as things have changed over the last number of weeks. I have heard some in the background from folks some good things that are going on, right? So the some of the others that are out there are singing some praises and whatnot. Obviously, there's still going to be trepidation amongst some, just because they can't. It's hard whenever you can't see what's going on, right? And when you're kind of going, something's happening, it needs to go this way, but you don't know all of the ins and outs of what's going on. It's hard to sit there and trust. So, and that's kind of what some of this is, right? I mean, as members, and I'll say, coming back, you and I had a conversation back in June. And just to be fully frank, I had already kind of pulled my membership, and it was for not due to the stuff that had conspired, but due to some other things that I just was not too keen on. And you and I kind of went into that. We don't need to go into detail on that from here because it's not what we're here about. But as things had changed and you were taking the role of president, you and I had that conversation. You were out to make those changes and fix things and whatnot. And I told you, I said, I'll come back if that's what we're doing. And so, that I don't have my check here to show you on the screen, but it's because I used a credit card. So I am currently a member again. And
yes, you are.
But no, it's because I trust you. I trust things are going to be improving. And from what I'm seeing, things are already starting to move that way. And, I think we as MBNA are looking towards bigger, better, brighter things. And I don't necessarily mean that's because a change had to happen. I think the change happened and it caused a reflection to look back on a lot of things. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of procedural things and just a lot that needs to be cleaned up, and that's the main focus of that's my main focus right now, and that's what Allison's helping a lot with. But there's we're digging into the bylaws, the code of ethics, the every procedural thing that MBNA has. We're digging into right now, and the awesome part is we're doing that with our new management company. We're all volunteers, so we're our expertise is making and selling monuments. So this management firm, this new company, we're gonna lean on them a lot more than we've ever been able to before, and they're really gonna help push us forward and not fix, but clean up and restructure a lot of our kind of back end stuff.
Right. I mean, it's not like the organization that was in shambles or anything, but
No,
it's
not at all.
Right.
But we just didn't have we didn't have everything current the way it should be, and I recommend any organization look through their procedures every couple of years. To make sure everything's current, make sure your bylaws are current, make sure you have different avenues to do different things, because you never know. The boards rotate constantly, so you want to make sure that you're up to date.
Well, and actually, I think this is good for all of the regional associations as well, especially with MBNA going through it, because it gives everybody its opportunity to watch what's going on, and you go, hey, we still are SMBA. We're in the same boat, and half of or 2/3 of us in this group call are on the board, and your wife's on our board as well, and there may be things that we need to sit back and look at and go, you know what, we're watching them make these changes. We're kind of dealing with some archaic things that have been sitting here since the 70s because we're complacent, and a lot has, I don't know if you realize, we do have the internet now, and things have changed, and we're still trying to operate as if my running joke has been a lot of times that making change in the monument industry is like dragging people into the 20th century as we're sitting here in the 21st. And it's like, it gets bizarre. We do have things other than stencil presses and the letterpress. I mean, this is there's other things out there to use, but I think also keeping focus on why things were there in the first place, right? I mean, because that does help understand what we're looking at. How did you get to where you're at? How do you prevent from making things worse? But how do you fix the problems that are at hand?
Well, and that's the good thing is that at this point, it's not, like Austin said, there's nothing in shambles. There's no problem. It's just how we better things, how we create new things, and how we move forward. And we just have such a good opportunity now with the new management company, with the board that we have. Sean, Brad, Mark, and Nathan are amazing people. They're good businessmen. They're great carvers, like you said. It's a really good group of fresh ideas, and I think they're going to do an awesome job moving forward. I think in the next year and a half, one of them's going to be great, stepping up as president.
Yeah.
And
so as we've kind of, obviously there's different a schedule of things. So as looking at things, I'm sure you've got, what do we do between now and we're calling it San Diego. I'm calling it Tijuana. Call it what you want. But
San Diego.
Yeah.
Anchorman has a different translation.
I hope my Anchorman references are understood. My speech is there.
I think it's a whales something, right? No. So when so there's I'm sure there's a list of what needs to be done before San Diego. There's a list of what needs to be done within the year, and then what is 5 years and 10 years and those kind of things as we're changing. And I'm sure there's a lot of immediate stuff with the management firm. Is that correct?
Right. That's right. And that's what, me and Allison and Jonathan have been really focused on the management transition the last month. And, Nathan and his team are with Sean and all of them, marketing, education, they're all intertwined. So they're doing an awesome job at getting everything set up for San Diego and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, good. So in San Diego, it's tabletop, correct? Yeah. So, and I guess if you have to have one for some of the stuff to kind of function on, coming into a tabletop makes the most sense, because you're not trying to, I don't know, change things up. Change things up completely and going into a full display and dealing with vendors. It should be a lot easier, especially when you're talking now. It's just, what do we want to adjust some of the education? Maybe it's just scheduling stuff. I've kind of bounced around the idea, just a couple other folks or whatever, not necessarily publicly, I guess, saying, is it a good idea that maybe we pass on some of the convention scheduling to the vendors and get their input on it? Meaning, they're paying a lot of money to show up to these displays, whether it's tabletop or not. Maybe they need to have an input of how much time they actually want out there. We can orchestrate education around that, and maybe limit education, because I'm not sure how many people would really care to go sit in on a yoga session or whatever. And being obviously boy,
only if Matt leads it.
I'll lead it.
Goat yoga? We have any goat yoga?
I don't know about that.
Do some hot yoga.
No, we have supplier manufacturer presidents that are part of the board. Garrett Wilson and CJ, and the goal is to have any vendor supplier input, go to them, which they're always welcome to go to any of us. But that's taken into account. If vendors want something, then we're more than happy to listen. And I don't think anybody's been told no. So that's absolutely taken into account when we're approached. We can't do something.
Are you saying that you can't read the minds of the vendors?
I try. No,
I think input is. Now's the time, right? If there was ever a point in time where leadership is open, it's when things are trying to be revamped, right? And I don't mean, and I say revamped on purpose, because I don't want to say it broken. It's not broken. It's revamped because, hey, we see issues, they're a problem, but we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We're fixing, we're mending these so that we can improve.
Opportunities.
Yes, exactly.
So that's what, any vendor that has, anybody that has any MBNA member of any type is welcome to come to any of us with suggestions, recommendations, anything.
Good, bad, or ugly.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. And I think that's, knowing that people are open to having those suggestions, and that, even through all the stuff, I love seeing all the phone numbers and emails go out saying, hey, if y'all have questions or something going on, reach out. And that was one of the things that I noticed big time, going across, saying, reach out to us. We're here. We're not running away from anything. We're here to answer questions and talk to everybody. And man, that says a lot, right?
It does.
My congressman doesn't do that. So,
You mean you couldn't get him on the podcast?
No, not this one. But the problem we have with my congressman right now is that he was the one who I think he was in Fort Worth and then got kicked out of Fort Worth and then tried to run in Beaumont and then it didn't work, and so he moved over to Waco to run for ours. So we got that going for us. But no, it's I think once people realize that the changes are there and they're coming, I think that's big. There's certain things I'd like to see be available. And I don't think they're massive things. I just think they're helpful. I'd like to see, I guess, under not necessarily the consumer advocacy, but a mediation setup, so that whether it's vendor to vendor, retailer to retailer, retail to vendor, however, if a problem comes up, that we were able to have some kind of, like the Better Business Bureau, right? A mediation setup that to have these conversations about whatever the problem is, right? Before somebody feels like they got to get a legal situation set up and spend a lot of money. Now we can have a conversation about, man, we're really on the, we're kind of on the same path, but we just don't agree. And maybe we can have somebody with a clear head who understands the industry, have a conversation. And maybe those individuals end up signing whoever's going to do the mediation, they sign a NDA, right? So that everything stays real clean and we don't have to worry about rumors getting spread or anything like that. But just something like that would be kind of nice to see available for. Of course, I have topics in mind, but those don't need to come up.
Mediation. Interesting thought. That's the first time that's been brought up. I take a step back.
Well, and that may be something that it's such a broad statement.
Well,
you can't break it down in little pieces. So
what I would like to do, and kind of over the past month, I've been reaching out to vendors and trying to open communication. I think everything's about communication, right? Your customers get upset when you don't communicate. Your vendors get upset when you don't communicate. Everything's about communication. So I'm really trying to open up the communication between MBNA and vendors. So my goal would be to have some sort of avenue where vendors, and maybe it's through some type of mediation program, I don't know, but when an issue arises, they can come to MBNA help in some sort of way. And I think that can easily be done just with communication.
Mm-hmm. And it's a tough one, especially from the organization side, because the organization has no legal teeth at all.
Right.
There's not anything that you can really enforce outside of just, whether somebody's allowed to be a member or not. But if anything, it just keeps integrity in the organization.
Yep.
That's absolutely right. And
I mean, half the time I just need somebody to tell me I'm a moron, which is why I call y'all half the time.
But no, you're
just
right.
need to know where I stand.
Just like Southern, just like any other association. I mean, we're not police. We can't. It's hard to give consequences to anybody for much anything. It's more. And from the beginning, when a member applies, we're going to fix the procedures to when a new member applies, that maybe they're vetted better or differently, and those are things that we're working on.
And so, I want to ask a question. I'm going to be very cautious about it because when you talk about vetting, you can go down like a really contentious way, right? Because there's going to be people who go, well, what about this person, or what about that person, or how about they do this or they do that? And I don't necessarily think that's fair, especially on a statement when you're going, we're working on trying to set this up, right? We're working on trying to set up how we're going to vet things and whatnot. It's too early to say this is what we're doing, but in that process, I mean, it would mean something to the effect of, look, we want to make sure that the people that are coming in match the ethics in which we want to the association to be. If we're going to set a standard of how we're going to care for families, they meet that, right? And then even to the effect of, do we have, I don't know, and I'm shooting very broadly, and I don't necessarily mean to pinhole something, but do they have any business injunctions against them? And I mean something like, I'm trying to, have they been corrupt for something, right? Like tax evasion, or I don't know. I'm
Right.
just trying to come up with thoughts, but meaning that they're going to make sure that they maintain. And I know this is early, but we're not talking about, well, this company's too close to this other company. We're not talking about, well,
No.
we don't like this particular company because John Scott says they use litho. So, I mean, those kind of things are how you produce and make it is not necessarily what's called in question when it comes to ethics. It's are you doing what's right by your customers?
Right, and that needs to go to the people that may possibly know. For example, I'm on the board of the Texas Cemetery Association. Every new vendor that applies to be a member of the TCCA, they apply, it goes to the board, and then it goes to me. So does this vendor, if let's say they're a vendor, I look at it and do I know these people, or have there ever been any problems with them? And then, I do research, maybe just a quick Google search to see, make sure everything's on the up and up. So even if it's just a simple vetting process like that, if a cemetery applies to that organization, the board goes through and does research on that cemetery, looks at their reviews, looks and sees what the community thinks about, if there's, just make sure everything's on the up and up. And,
right. And I would even say
simple.
down to the reviews, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got one bad review, right?
No,
because
that's not what I'm
it's
saying.
what is the logical statement in there? And you go, it's if you're consistently seeing a problem in reviews, and that's an issue. But if you're like,
and that's what we see. We see cemetery owners all the time that have horrible reviews consistently because they're doing bad business practices. They're not being they're not being ethical. That's not the member that we would want.
No. Right. And that's and that would be the case, right? I mean, I think when talking about reviews, because I've had this conversation with, in private with other people concerning even SMBA or whatever, you've got to be careful because some of it is, we're dealing with such an emotional time that, and I don't mean that they're all this way, but you are going to end up with some people who make an emotional response to something that is in the works to being fixed, and they will put out a bad review, and then they don't necessarily go back to fix it. No, man, I've got one right now where it's not a bad review. We've got good reviews, but I'm getting ahead of it. We've got one right now where I had a company go do a concrete curbing for me. And it looked bad. I tore it out. Had a different company go do the concrete curbing. It looked bad. So as of yesterday, I said, nope, I'm going to go pull it out and I'm going out there myself and I'm redoing it. I know this family has had to wait for quite a while on this because we were waiting on the monument, but it doesn't look right. It does not look good. And this is for their kid. It's got to be right. So if they were to put a review out right now, they wouldn't be wrong, right? To badmouth me. But I'm in the process of fixing it. And some of those things you have to take into consideration when you're talking to people.
And that's one review. And again,
right.
I'm talking about, if we go look at a member and there's 100 bad reviews and they all say the same thing, that's a different story.
Correct. Yeah, you can tell that there's a problem there.
And especially as a business owner, you know how to read reviews. Like you can see the ones that are those heightened emotional responses that don't necessarily add up. You can tell that somebody something struck a nerve and they wanted to vent on the internet.
Right.
Yeah. That's the point in time as the business owner when you're reading the review. You don't go, look, it didn't matter what I put out there. It wasn't going to bring your kid back. Don't do that. No.
No, not a good idea.
So. But no, okay. I mean, I'm glad to hear that some of that stuff's going to go, or coming up and being changed, being reviewed or whatever. So obviously we know that we're going to see these things like within supplier changes and conventions and how people are getting in. But is there plans for the next, 10 years as to what we want to see change? I mean, we're kind of playing with some of the adjustments. Have we gotten there yet? Or are we still too early on to making fixes with the swap over from management firms and all that?
It's still early, but we're taking. I mean, I've talked to a few suppliers who have some input, and so I mean, again, if any supplier or anybody has any input about something we could do better or differently, let's hear it, please.
I wouldn't mind seeing, and this is hot take. I think I mentioned this on one of the episodes. Was what about MBNA reaching out to ICCFA and doing a joint convention? Is that it? Look, that may be one of those where like people are like, this is a bad idea, but I need to know if it's a bad idea because it makes it beneficial for the vendors. They make one trip and one expense.
I don't know, because you're getting two completely separate groups of customers. So from a vendor's point of view, you're getting two completely different customers coming in. A lot of our vendors sell to cemeteries and sell to us, and like it or not, it's the way it is. So if you do that, you're going to have this cemetery and this monument company that's right down the street from them in the same room. So I don't know. I feel like that'd be an awkward show.
And it might be. I think my thought process has been that we've been having that fight between funeral homes, cemeteries, and monuments for a long time. Cemeteries and funeral homes are obviously doing this stuff together. They're still dealing with cremation as well, all in that same group. And here we are, just the guys with hammers and chisels out here, Neanderthals, kind of wondering how do we fix things. And I'm curious as to. I don't necessarily know that it's a phenomenal plan, but it's an interesting thought to say, does it make it more beneficial for them? Should we, I don't know, the fight's been going on since I've been in the industry and probably longer, it's 30, 40 years or something like that. There's a whole new guard in both sets of groups, and having that conversation to say, what does it hurt for us to all show up and have those conversations? We can have different education classes. If you're a part of the monument group, you go to the monument education. You don't show up to the one about how to embalm properly or new techniques on cremation or whatever.
I'd go watch it.
Well, they've got better coffee in their room.
What do you do? What do you do? And I know a couple cemeteries personally that do this. What do you do when cemetery sends their superintendent in to the monument side to learn some tricks on sandblasting? All of a sudden they do their own work and require their own work. There's a
and I mean it's a slippery slope on some of it. You've got to figure out how do you handle that. And I'm not. I've said before, I'm not the genius.
Maybe that's something down the line that happens and plays out, but I don't see the path for that personally today. But who knows? I mean, I'd love to see a huge convention with everybody getting along and working together, and huge displays. Have you ever been to an ICCFA show?
I went to, I don't remember how many years ago it was in San Antonio, but I went out there to that one a number of years ago, and it's a huge display.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so cool and that's honestly, that's what I hope for MBNA, in the next several years, is that show had 18 wheelers with mausoleums on them. It had cars, and it was packed. A ton of cool stuff. I mean,
we used to have that with MBNA. I remember one year there being floating spheres and huge obelisks and walk-in mausoleums on trailers, all that stuff in the showroom. We haven't seen it in a long time.
I want to get back to that. Really
I would love to. And that's why I have said, and this is not necessarily, it's a just on my wish list. I would love to have a full display in Texas, and not because hey, I don't have to travel so far, but because there are a lot of retailers in Texas who've never seen what is possible. And I think if you can get the people in those areas that we've not done, they're not going to fly. they can drive over there, have a day trip, and see a nice full display convention. It may change the way they do things. Now, I also understand that some of those vendors, especially now, like I think Elberton's starting to get back where they're taking on new customers, but I don't know if they're quite there yet. And if you're not taking on any new customers, it's a little difficult for you to kind of go, I'm going to spend money to go out there and advertise and show off. So,
well, and that's been the chief complaint that I've heard from the vendors is that they're trying to justify why they should be coming to these conventions because it's the same people showing up every single time. And some of these vendors do go to the ICCFA and they bring the big displays, but whenever they come to us, they're really scaled down because they said, they're still just the same people. There's no change to it. And they've asked me the question of, what can we do on our side as the retailers, board members, because, we're on SMBA. What can we do to bring more to them?
And that's something we all need to look at from different association groups. And I would love to see, given these vendors, the opportunity to invite people who are not members of any of these associations. Meaning, if you're going to spend, I don't know, whether it's $2,000 to show up or you're spending $50,000 to show up as a vendor, giving them a number of badges or whatever that they can hand to people who've never been to a convention they've never seen before. I'm not losing money in it because they weren't going to come anyway. But if I can get them in the door, maybe I can convert them into being a member. It's kind of like what you do at church, right? I mean, I got to get them to. If I can get them to come into church, maybe I can get them to stick around. It's the same kind of thing. If we can kind of.
Uh-oh.
Maggie must run the internet line down there.
Oh, man. Maybe he'll pop back in here in a moment.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you now. Do what?
The internet completely dropped out at the office.
Oh.
No.
Yeah. So we're sitting new here. But here we'll try this. Am I cutting in and out a lot or no?
No, you're sounding good.
All right, we'll just go here from now.
Okay.
I heard the last I heard was I was sitting there talking to y'all and I heard uh-oh.
Well, good. At least you didn't keep talking.
No. I knew immediately. I heard uh-oh and I see, oh man. So anyways, where were we at? What were we talking about?
We was talking about MBNA.
Maybe not. The problem is it started raining, and that means the squirrels that were holding the phone lines together decided to quit. That means every time y'all smile, I know it misses. It means I sound like one of those stupid commercials. Can you hear me now?
You were saying about how to get a big show, how suppliers want new people want suppliers. Somebody's got to show up. I mean, either the suppliers want new people and then the people that come want more suppliers. So, personally, I think logistics plays a big part of it. If we have, a majority of our granite comes from East Elberton, Barry, up towards that area. So I understand it makes it difficult for some people whenever we have shows on the West Coast. But then again, we want to show some love to our members on the West Coast as well. So I think we could, and keep in mind these conventions are scheduled out years in advance. But I think the way to have a big show is to have it somewhere that's easily accessible for all these vendors, and start getting on the phone, getting them to come out there, and then start calling memberships saying, hey, we've got all these new people coming. We have these new suppliers. They're bringing this. They're some cool stuff. I think that's how you grow the show.
What if you get in with the suppliers and you ask them to say, "Hey, give us a list of cities that y'all are okay with going to that we can cycle through. We'll pick venues there, but these are the cities that y'all want to go to, y'all are comfortable to go to, and y'all know that they're going to bring people in. So it at that point in time, look, it either goes really well, and they like where they're going because people show up, or it fails. And if it fails, it's not because the MBNA screwed them over, right? Yeah. Or anything like that. It just didn't work, and we found another location. But you can at least from there say, look, I get it. This is not the hot location, or maybe it works. But we may find out that a lot of vendors are willing to go to Vegas, right? We don't know until we've given them the opportunity to make those decisions. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is Albertson are they gonna load up a truck and ship it to Nevada? Who knows? But
they might if whatever they're taking is already sold.
Yeah,
that may be part of it.
And I mean, it's worth talking to them about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, and I said, I mean, that's why we want to open up communication with vendors more so, and get more input from them.
And whenever you do reach out to these members,
feedback from.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
sorry, guys. For those who are listening, I'm now on my phone and not on some highfalutin device like I was before because it's raining.
Well, as Matt said, whenever your internet cut out, he said an Aggie probably laid the internet line out there. So
it's
no college football jokes.
It's about right. Yeah.
But whenever you do reach out to these members,
we are one.
That they are current members of MBNA, that they do not attend the conferences. What are you telling them to entice them to come? Because I know a lot of times the first thing you're going to get is, well, I can't be away from work, or it costs too much, or something like that. Those are sometimes, that may be true. And sometimes that's just kind of a canned response. But what are you, I guess, what's your top 10 points or top 3 or whatever points to encourage them to be more active?
Be more active in the shows. I mean, that's what we try to line up good education, good, things people want to do. I'm a big fan of workshops, even though I like to stand there and watch more than anything. I'm a big fan of people, I think, in our industry want to get out there and, hammer on stuff and actually do stuff. And so that coupled with education, with, different, you've got to take into account the office people, sales training, marketing training, employee management training. So you kind of have to hit everything. And that coupled with good exhibitors, with people bringing stuff, bringing new products, bringing any products. Last year we backed the 18-wheeler in from Tanner and put it in the show. So just the more we can get, the more variety of things to see and things to do, and focus on the industry, then I think that's what we tell the membership. That's what pulls them in.
Well, I mean, I remember in Athens, Hard Rocks had done a deal where we showed off a bunch of pieces and auctioned off pieces or whatever to go towards education and stuff.
Yeah.
A live carving event inside the display room might not be a bad thing to do if we could find a way to pull it off. It'd just be something different. And something different may be what is needed, instead of just, I've seen that same SERP top over and over. Well, inevitably you're going to go and you're going to see one of those. Have you seen these monuments that there's an angel laying over a heart?
No, never.
It's usually black granite, and
you should
a lot of those things.
You should copyright that. That is a good idea.
Well, we're working on that. What kind
No,
of
I
feedback
think
are you? Go ahead.
no, I would say I think that's a good idea. Any kind of something for people to see and that's different and to kind of put their hands on. I think that's an attraction for sure.
And there's a lot of people in this industry, especially us as retailers. There's a lot of them that are very curious. They just don't. Sometimes they don't know who to ask the question to. And there's a lot of people that they have aspirations to do more. It's just that they've never been shown it. And they, like I said, they may be a member that is not as connected as, the three of us are, that we know a lot of people throughout the association, but they want to know these things. And if you finally get to put it in front of them, not only does it help them, but it also helps encourage more participation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So on to areas outside of the convention. I mean, so what are you catching feedback currently from members as to things they would like to see, change or whatever? I know you and I kind of talked briefly at SMBA about some of the benefits that are, of being a member. I know, like some of it's like, the statement's always been to get out of MBNA something you need to put in, and I'm totally okay with that. But like, for a long time, the statement had always been preached. It's the coupon book, and I'm like,
coupons.
Well, I don't buy from half those vendors, and not because I don't like those vendors. It's just not what we use. And the other problem for me is, I also understand I'm a different animal because I'm the guy who's trying to ask them to do something a little extra, and hey, can you do this extra for me or do this, really well? But, oh, by the way, here's a coupon. Can I get a free vase as well? I'd much rather get the quality out of what I'm trying to produce than worry about trying to save $10.
Well, I think that everybody might be wanting something different out of MBNA. So the coupon book, is for one person maybe then, and relationships, education, meeting suppliers. Maybe the only time they go anywhere is to the convention, and they go meet with their supplier and shake their hand. So everybody might get something a little bit different out of MBNA in general. So whatever works for them. But if there's something that they want that's not there, then let us know. We want to know about it.
I think that's fair. I think you can't do stuff without knowing that that people want something or that there are issues. You have to know what's available. So,
Right.
But
well, is there any effort being put forward to trying to find new members?
There's always an effort put forward to find new members in MBNA. I mean, we have list after list of members all across North America, and we've had campaigns to call people, and that's been a heavy focus for years.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's just an ongoing process.
Right.
Austin, that was the whole purpose of having him on, actually, was for us to introduce you as the new membership committee guy. as he leaves the podcast.
No, but it would be nice to have some, we'll scratch that. What we need for membership, we need pictures of your work you're proud of. We need articles that you're willing to write. We need suggestions, as minor, if somebody just wants to shoot me an email and say, hey man, I'd love to see a show in Dallas someday. I'd love to see a show in, Pittsburgh, wherever. Just something that simple. Any kind of suggestion or recommendation, we welcome it.
Yeah, I think having those suggestions are key, and that's on every association, whether it's MBNA, SMBA, Mid America, whatever, pick one. All of those go into play. You can't know how to improve things for people unless you know what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, I would love to see one in Austin. Not because I actually like Austin. I think it, as an Aggie, you're not supposed to like that place, but there's a lot to do there, and there's a lot of great monument stuff there, and it's kind of a cool place that can draw people in. So, but I think, reaching outside the bonds of what has been the norm for years when it comes to some of that stuff, giving articles, that's a huge thing. It helped for the association and get people to know more. I know even for us with the We Rock podcast, we've kind of been starting to do some of these instructional videos that we're putting on some of the monument builders groups for people to see, just to kind of show, hey, look, you can do this. It's not necessarily like you need somebody to do it for you. It's really not that complicated. We're willing to walk everybody through it so they know how to do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and same with if somebody has a good idea or a good thought, they don't have to write. They don't have to be a great writer. They can put something together, and then we have a team at our new management company, that'll make that sound golden, and they'll put it in the magazine.
Make you sound halfway intelligent, right? I mean, so it's.
I mean, if they can make me sound halfway intelligent.
Oh, I was under the impression every letter that you've ever wrote, that's all you.
You know what? It is.
I'm not gonna lie. I assumed every letter was from Ryan.
Hey, they're all. Let's just say they start with me, and then they go through a handful of people to be the end product.
Well, and look, we know where the brains are in your outfit. It's not in your office.
No, it's in the right next door.
Yeah, it's the same thing in my household. I outpunted my coverage. I know exactly where I stand in my household.
I'm just the face of the company.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
The pretty face.
Yeah. Well, Matt, I really appreciate. I know it's a little different because I got kicked off and all that, but I would certainly appreciate you coming on and talking to us about a lot of this stuff that's going on. I think some of the changes that are coming up, I think we can be excited about, and obviously we can even have more of these conversations later if we feel like that's necessary. I think we found in a rough situation where we wish you had come into that position under different terms, but we're finding gold out of it, and we're finding that we're improving a lot of different things. And I think it's going to turn out good, and we're glad to have you, running the helm at this point.
Definitely so.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for having me on here. And
hey, and
just know that
if members or vendors, retailers, whatever, are wanting to give you any feedback, not just to you but to the organization, what's the best way for them to get in contact with either?
It's info@monumentbuilder.org.
Okay.
Or reach out to me directly, Matt@worthingtontx.com, and I'll be happy to share it and do what we can. But I welcome any input. I really do. I think that's the only way to know what people want and what direction people want to go.
Good deal.
That sounds good to me. I mean, I think it's good, and we appreciate your time. And it's I think we're like I said, moving on to bigger and better things across the board. Any improvement we can have for the association and for our shops only improves the outcome for the families in the end, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On that end, I think we've got it all wrapped up. But I guess I won't see you next week, Matt. But I'll pour one out for you.
Appreciate it. Safe travels.
Will do.
Was that a 10-day trip?
On that note, so we leave Saturday, and then we get back the Monday following the next.
Okay.
So it'll be 10 days.
Cool.
But we'll have a good time. Maybe I'll do We Rock live from there. It's probably not going to be of anything exciting. It's probably just going to be me sitting around eating pizza.
We'll have fun.
So,
Yes, sir.
will do. Y'all have a good one, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Sounds good. Y'all have a good one.